All right, this is part 2 of the review for the final exam for Math for Teachers 3. And in the first video, I went over problems 1 through 17. In this video, I'm going to finish the rest of these problems on the study guide or the review for the final exam. Okay, problem number 18 is this. The scores on the test are listed below. And pretty much you're going to use a calculator. You're not going to use a graphing calculator, even though the graph calculator does this. But I want you to try to do it by hand on the exam. So here, you're going to use a calculator anyway, but not a graphing calculator, to find the following. And here we got we got our scores: 73, 72, 78, 78, 74, and 76. And here we're going to find first the mean, then the median, the mode, mid-range, mean absolute deviation, variance, and standard deviation. All right, so we'll start with the mean. And that's just the average of the numbers that are given in that data set. Okay, so let me pull this paper up. So 18, part A is just finding the mean. And in this case here, we just add those numbers together and divide by, and in this case, there are 6 numbers, so we divide by 6. So we have 73 plus 72 plus 78 plus another 78 plus 74 plus 76. And that's divided by 6. Okay, so let me get the sum first. 73, 72, 78, 78, 74, and 76. That adds to 451. And 451 divided by 6. Then we're going to get a decimal, but here, let's say we want to give our answer to 1 decimal place. So in this case here, the mean would be 75.2. So the mean there would be 75.2. And now for the median. Now the median is the middle number when your data set is arranged in numerical order from least to greatest. So that means we need to place this data set in numerical order. So the first number, the smallest, is 72. And then I'll go ahead and write that out. That's 72. And then 73 will be next. 74. And then 76. And then 78 and 78 again. All right, so the middle number, we can find that by crossing out the numbers on the ends on the left and on the right. So if I do that, notice I got 2 middle numbers, 74 and 76. So when you have 2 middle numbers like this, you have to take the average of the 2 middle numbers. So I have to add 74 and 76 together, divide that by 2. This will be 150 divided by 2, which is 75. So 75 is actually the median of this data set. Okay, so that's part B. Part C is the mode. The mode is the data value that is most frequent in that data set, the most frequent data number in that data set. And that's 78. It occurs twice. So the mode there is 78. Part D was finding the range. And the range is always going to be the highest data value minus the lowest data value. And in this case, the highest data value is 78. Minus the lowest data value, that's 72. subtract 72 from 78, you will get 6. And then part E is finding the mean absolute deviation. Or in short, MAD. Okay, the first column is always your data, that each data value, which is X. Then X minus X bar is the difference between your data value and the mean. And then the next column is the absolute value. Keep in mind, absolute value is always going to be positive. It's never going to be negative, if you recall. So let me list all my data values here. That's what, 72, 73, 74, 76, 78, and 78. Now, they don't necessarily have to be in any particular order here. Only time you order your data values is when you're finding the median. With the mean and the mean absolute deviation, the order doesn't matter. Because here, the mean, which was X bar, was, we found that out to be 75.2. So for each data value, we will subtract 75.2 from it. So if I do 72 minus 75.2, this will be negative 3.2. Yeah. And then 73 minus 75.2 will be negative 2.2. And then 74 minus 75.2 will be a negative 1.2. And then 76 minus 75.2 will be 0.8. Then 78 minus 75.2 will be 2.8. And then finally, wait a minute, 78 minus 75.2, yeah, 2.8. And 78 minus 75.2 is also 2.8. So basically, if you were to add these numbers together, you would, or you should end up with 0, a sum of 0 in this case. And I do want to check to see if my numbers are right. And they are. Because this is 5.6 and 6.4. All right, let me double check. 72 minus 75.2, which is the mean, is negative 3.2. 73 minus 75.2, that's negative 2.2. 74 minus 75.2, negative 1.2. 76 minus 75.2, 0.8. 78 minus 75.2, 2.8, and 2.8. Okay, it might be just a round off error because I rounded to 1 decimal place. All right, now let's take the absolute value of these numbers here. That would be the absolute value of X minus X bar. Absolute value of negative 3.2 is a positive 3.2. Absolute value of negative 2.2 will be 2.2. Absolute value of negative 1.2 will be 1.2. Absolute value of 0.8 would be 0.8. And the same thing for the absolute value of 2.8, that's 2.8. And this is also 2.8 as well. Here I'm going to take the sum of these numbers here. So this is 3.2 plus 2.2 plus 1.2 plus 0.8 plus 2.8 plus 2.8. That would give me 13. And to find the mean absolute deviation, that will be the sum of the absolute value of the deviations divided by the number of deviations I have, which is 6. So 13 divided by 6 to 1 decimal place, it will be 2.2. So that's the mean absolute deviation here. All right, now part F is finding the variance. All right, so here's part F is finding the variance. Now notice when we find the variance, the first 2 columns are going to be the same. So I'm going to rewrite those. And then x minus x bar. Those are the same because the mean is still 75.2. So here I'm going to have, let's see, negative 3.2, negative 2.2, negative 1.2, 0.8, 2.8, 2.8. Okay, because when finding the variance, my x column is the same and x minus x bar is going to be the same. But that third column, we have to square what we got, each data value in the second column. That's x minus x bar quantity squared. So if I square the negative 3.2, okay, so let me put this in parentheses, negative 3.2, and you square it, that's going to be 10.24. And then negative 2.2 squared would be 4.84. And then negative 1.2 squared would be 1.44. 0.8 squared would be 0.64. And then 2.8 squared will be 7.84. And again, 2.8 squared will be 7.84. Okay, so in this case here, we're going to add these numbers together. The numbers in the last column, because that's the sum of that. And then whatever we get for that, we're going to divide by 6 because there's 6 data values here. 10.24 plus 4.84 plus 1.44 plus 0.64 plus 7.84 plus another 7.84. That's going to be 32.84. So the sum of these numbers is 32.84. And then the variance, to find the variance, we take that 32.84 divided by 6. So 32.84 divided by 6, approximately 5.5 if we round to 1 decimal place. Okay. And finally, the standard deviation. And the standard deviation is the square root of the variance. And the variance was 5.5. So if I take the square root of 5.5, I would get approximately 2.3, rounded to 1 decimal place. So the standard deviation there would be 2.3. All right. So that was problem number 18. All right, problem number 19. We got 3-dimensional figures where we're going to find the surface area and the volume of each one of these, starting with part A, which is the right rectangular prism. And by the way, these formulas will be on your help sheet as well. All right, so let's look at this right rectangular prism here. Here we got a length of 6 inches, a width of 8 inches, and a height of 4 inches. So let's label those. A length of 6 inches, a width of 8 inches, and a height of 4 inches. All right, now in this case here, for a right rectangular prism, here's that formula. SA, which is the surface area, is equal to the perimeter of the base times the height of the prism plus 2 times the base, the area of the base. So we'll write that formula down. Surface area is equal to the perimeter times the height plus 2 times the base. Let's first find 2 things, the perimeter and the area of the base. The base, the perimeter of the base, well, that base, if you look at it, it is a rectangle. The base is at the bottom. That's the rectangle. And the perimeter of any rectangle will be 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So it'll be 2 times that length, which is 6, plus 2 times the width, which is 8. So 2 times 6 is going to be 12, plus 2 times 8 is 16. 12 plus 16 is 28. So that perimeter is 28 inches. Now we need the area of the base. Well, the base is a rectangle. So the formula for finding the area of a rectangle would be length times width. So that means in this case here, the length is 6 times the width, which is 8. 6 times 8 will be 48. All right, and this is what we need to find the surface area of that right rectangular prism. All right, so the perimeter was 28 times the height, which is 4, plus 2 times the base. That base was 48. So here's the surface area. 28 times 4 would be 112. 2 times 48 is 96. And 96 plus 112 will be 208 square inches. Okay. So the surface area is 208 square inches. Now we need the volume of that right rectangular prism. So the formula for finding the volume is going to be length times the width times the height. Okay. Length times width times height. All right, the length there is 6, and the width is 8, and the height is 4. So if I multiply 6 times 8 times 4, I would end up with 192. And volume is always in cubic units, so I had to mention that as cubic inches. So the volume here is 192 cubic inches. And make sure you put the appropriate units there as your final answer. Otherwise, you will lose points for that problem. So be aware of that. So this is part A. Part B is the right circular cylinder. So here's the right circular cylinder in part B. Notice we have a radius of 7 feet and a height of the cylinder being 18 feet. So let's label that or mention that the radius is 7 feet and the height is 18 feet. So now we want the surface area of that right circular cylinder. Here we go. The right circular cylinder, here's the formula for the surface area. 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi RH. And here you're told to leave the answer in terms of pi, by the way. So here, if we find the surface area, that would be 2 pi times the radius, which was 7. And that 7 has to be squared because it's the square of the radius, times 2 pi. And I left off the r in that formula. Just 2 pi RH. And r is 7. And the height is 18. So surface area there will be 7 squared is 49. 49 times 2 is 98. So I have 98 pi plus 2 times 7 times 18. That will give me 252 pi. So 98 plus 252 will give me 350 pi. Okay. 350 pi, and this is in square feet. Square feet. So that would be the surface area of the right circular cylinder. Now for the volume. That's the formula for finding the volume of a right circular cylinder. Pi times the radius squared times the height. So here, volume is equal to pi times the radius, which is 7, and that's going to be squared, times the height, which is 18. So here we get V is equal to pi times 7 squared is 49. And if I multiply 49 times 18, that will give me 882 pi. 882 pi, and the volume is going to be, in this case, cubic feet. So it'll be 882 pi cubic feet for the volume of that right circular cylinder. Okay. Part C is a right square pyramid. Right square pyramid. Now let's look at what's given to us in this problem here. Now, actually, the surface area for a right square pyramid, let me go and write that down. That's going to be 1/2 the perimeter times the slant height plus the base. And the base is always going to, well, the base is going to be a square anyway. So if you look at it, it is a square because this side is 73 and that side is 73 centimeters each. This red line, that's your slant height, that's 45. And you are given what the height is. That's going to be 26 centimeters. So we're going to be using that later when we find the volume of that right square pyramid. Okay. Let's see. Since it's a square, the perimeter of a square will be 4 times S. And in this case, your S is going to be 73 centimeters. And of course, let me go ahead and say the slant height, which is the L, that's going to be 45 centimeters. And you're told that the height is 26 centimeters. Now back to your perimeter, which is 4 times S. If I multiply 4 times 73, that will give me 292. So the perimeter there is 292. All right. Now for the area of the base, which is a square. That's going to be side square. And the length of the side is 73. Square that, you'll get 5,329. So now our surface area will be 1/2 the perimeter, which is 292, times the slant height, that's 45, plus the area of the base, which is 5,329. I'm drawing a line here to separate the side work that I'm doing here. Let's see, half of 292, let's see, 1 divided by 2, times 292, times 45, that's 6,570, plus 5,329. That would give us 11,899. So the surface area of that right square pyramid would be 11,899. And this is in square centimeters. Keep in mind, area is always going to be in square units. Okay. Now on this side, I'm going to do the volume of that right square pyramid. And the volume of that right square pyramid would be 1/3 the length times the width times the height, which is actually 1/3 the base times the height, because the base is always length times width. Well, in this situation, it's not always that, but it's just in this situation. That base was 5,329, so I take 1/3 of 5,329 divided by times the height, which is 26. Let's see, 5,329 times 26 divided by 3. And yeah, you're going to get a decimal here. This will be 46,184.6 repeating. And this is in cubic centimeters, since we're dealing with the volume. Okay. So that would be the volume of that right square pyramid. All right, part D is a right circular cone. A right circular cone. And let's take a look at this right here. You're given a diameter of 18 meters here. The formula calls for the radius. So right off the top, the radius is 1/2 the diameter, and the diameter is 18 meters. So if I take 1/2 of 18, that would be 9 meters. Okay. And even the formula for finding the volume of a right circular cone calls for the radius. So if you're given a diameter, you have to take half that diameter in order to find the radius. Okay, and you're given a slant height. This is your slant height right here. That's 12 meters, I'm sorry. And you're told that the height is 10 meters. That's given to you right here in the problem. We'll be using that later. So now to find the surface area, that's going of that right circular cone. Here it is. That's going to be pi times the radius squared plus pi times the radius times that slant height. Pi r squared plus pi r L. And now your surface area will be pi times the radius, which is, in this case, 9, not the 18. It's actually 9. And that's squared plus pi times 9 times L, which is your sine height, that's 12. And our answer, we're going to leave that in terms of pi for both the surface area and the volume. 9 squared is 81, so I have 81 pi plus 9 times 12 is 108 pi. And 81 pi plus 108 pi, that will be 189 pi square meters. So that's the surface area of the right circular cone. Now for the volume. The formula for finding the volume of a right circular cone will be 1/3 pi r squared times the height. Here it is. So the volume is going to be this 1/3 pi times the radius, which is 9, times the height, which is 10. Oh, and that 9 needs to be squared. Okay. So let me stick that in. So this 9 has to be squared because it's the radius squared times the height, which is 10. Let me go ahead and square that 9. That's going to be 81 times 10. So if I do 81 times 10, divide that by 3, I would get 270. And it'll be 270 pi. And this will be in cubic meters. Cubic meters. So that's the surface area and the volume of that right circular cone. And part E of number 19 is a sphere. So for the sphere, here it is, the radius is given 8 kilometers. So that's what R is going to be equal to, 8 kilometers. So the surface area for a sphere is going to be this. It's the surface area, 4 pi times the radius squared, 4 pi r squared. And we're going to leave our answer in terms of pi as well. So in this case here, the pi, the r is 8 kilometers, so it'll be 4 pi times 8, and that's squared. I'm going to square the 8, that would be 64. 64 times 4 will be 256. So it'll be 256 pi square kilometers. And now for the volume. Oops. The volume of that sphere, I'll go ahead and show it to you, which will be 4/3 pi r cubed. So it's going to be V is equal to 4/3 pi times the radius cubed. So it'll be 4/3 pi times the radius, which is 8, and that's going to be cubed. 4/3 pi times cube, your 8. 8 times 8 times 8, that's 512. And if I do 512 times 4 divided by 3, I get a repeating decimal here, which is 682 point, and the 6 repeats. Now I'll go ahead and show you what I did. Because I have 512, cube that, multiply by 4 divided by 3, you're going to get 682 and 0.6 repeating, and you do need to include the pi, and also make sure you include cubic kilometers as your answer. Okay, so that was problem number 19, where you have to find not only the surface area, you have to find the volume. So there are 2 parts to that, surface area and volume. And those formulas will be on your help sheet. All right, number 20. Convert the following. Also, conversion tables will be on your help sheet for both 20 and 21. 20A is 3 cubic meters is equal to how many cubic centimeters? Okay, so let me pull this up. Notice we're going from cubic meters to cubic centimeters. And it does say you have to move the decimal point. Well, you have to do 3 times the number of decimal places that you move from left or from the right. So we're going from here, meters to centimeters normally. You will have to move the decimal point 2 places to the right, but we're dealing with cubic units. So it's 3 times 2, which is 6. So we're going to move the decimal point in the number 3, which is at the end, 6 places to the right. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That means I need to add 6 zeros here. So 3 cubic meters will be 3 million cubic centimeters. All right. And by the way, that's part A. Part B was 0.002 cubic kilometers is equal to how many cubic meters? And here's the problem that I got it from. Now, using the table, normally from kilometers to meters, you would go 1, 2, 3 decimal places to the right. But we got to do 3 times that, which is 9. So it has to be, we have to move this decimal point in 0.002 9 places to the right. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That means I need to include 6 zeros here. So this will end up being 2 million. So 0.002 cubic kilometers will be equivalent to 2 million cubic meters. Okay. And finally, number 21. We're dealing with mass here. 3.4 kilograms is equal to how many grams? All right, so this is part A, 3.4 kilograms. How many grams? Well, we're going from kilograms to grams, so that means I have to move 1, 2, 3 places to the right. So in 3.4, I need to move this decimal point 1, 2, 3 places to the right. I need 2 zeros here. So 3.4 kilograms is equivalent to 3,400 grams. Part B, 2,580 milligrams is equal to how many grams? So using that table, we're going from grams, not from grams, milligrams to grams. Here we go. Milligrams to grams. That means I have to go 1, 2, 3 places to the left. So in the number 2,580, I need to move that decimal point, which is always behind the very last digit in the whole number. Move that decimal point 1, 2, 3 places. So now that decimal point is between the 2 and the 5. So it'd be 2.58 grams for 2,580 milligrams. And finally, part C, 19,780 grams is equal to how many milligrams? So from grams to milligrams. Grams to milligrams, I'm going 1, 2, 3 places to the right. So the decimal point in 19,780 is right behind the 0. I need to move that decimal point 1, 2, 3 places. You'll need 3 zeros here to do that. So this will be 19,780,000. So 19,780 grams will be equivalent to 19,780,000 milligrams. Okay, so that should help you prepare for the final exam, which is on Thursday, May the 5th from 2:45 to 4:45 p.m. on campus. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions between now and the final exam. Good luck.